the next thing that makes me appreciate this thing even more, you have two MG34s right here. So that means open top vehicles are definitely going to be shredded by this thing pretty easily. Just say one machine gun makes a difference. That is just disrespectful. Hey guys, it's Jim here, and welcome back to another episode of Heroes and Generals, but it's warthunder. And in today's video, we are moving up the line of medium tanks in Heroes and Generals, and so the next vehicle would be the Panzer 4H. And this tank in Heroes and Generals quickly became one of my favorite, and unfortunately one of the main reasons is because before the Panzer 4H, I kinda skipped it to play the Panther G, and unfortunately in Heroes and Generals, the N-tier medium tanks, not just the Panther G, were some of the most heavily nerfed medium tanks, or tanks in general, at all in Heroes and Generals. Which is why, as soon as I moved back to the Panzer 4H just to try it out, to complete my collection of German vehicles in Heroes and Generals, I immediately fell in love with the Panzer 4H because not only is the armor actually working compared to the Panther, the gun is working as well. I'll talk more about the Panther in the next video where I'll be playing the Panther G, but for now we are talking about the Panzer 4H. And how does this thing compare to the one in War Thunder? Unfortunately though, I kinda prefer the one in War Thunder. Let me show you as to why. Now first things first, armor. You only have 80mm up here, just like the one in Heroes and Generals. That doesn't have any slope whatsoever. So unfortunately, even at battle rating 3.7, there is a lot of guns that can easily chew through this. Not to mention, most of the time you'll be facing Shermans or T-34s where their APHE shells have more than enough explosive mass to one-shot you. Especially since this plane right here is the center mass shot, taking out 4 or 5 out of your crewmen. But the good news is that what sets the Panzer 4H in War Thunder apart from the one in Heroes and Generals is the fact that the Panzer 4H has add-on armor. Which means we are adding tracks, spare tracks to the front of the tank, essentially making this thing a mini Tiger. And what do I mean by that? 80mm right here, and with the aero track armor, adds another 20mm on top of it. It kinda makes me wonder if Rito ever once considered adding like armor upgrade or whatever to their tanks in Heroes and Generals, but I guess we'll never find out. But anyway, it's only 100mm, does that seem like it's a big deal? The answer is yes, because T-34-76, the APHE can only pen up to 96mm of armor. So yes, they're not going through this anytime soon. As well as the Sherman tanks. Like granted, the APC-BC on the Sherman tanks can pen up to 104mm of armor, but that is assuming it's at point blank range and you're not angled in any way. So yes, this is actually really protective, even though it's just adding 20mm tracks on top of it. It does actually make quite a difference. However, even with the add-on track armor, here's a few spots you need to keep in mind. Firstly, this slope right here, in between the upper front plate and the lower front plate. It's only 20mm right here, and adding the track armor doesn't really help too much. I mean, against Sherman guns, yeah, maybe, but against M10 or T-34 APHE BC shell, no. They can definitely push right through this, and again, that is pretty much the center mass shot right there. So that's something to keep in mind. The other spot to be careful of is this right here. Unlike the Panzer 4G or the Panzer 4F2, where they have the viewport additional armor on the front right here, with no hole behind it. The Panzer 4H, yeah, not so much. You only have a flat 80mm plate right here. So that's something you need to keep in mind. Thankfully though, this can be easily remedied by putting jerry cans or whatever decorator you got for free from the battle pass. Now the final spot to be careful of, especially when you're dealing with players who actually know how to deal with you, is this. Unlike the upper front plate, you only have 50mm right here, and adding the track armor is only making up to 70mm. So yeah, you can probably guess it. Sherman, T-34, Cromwells, they can easily punch right through this. And I can't believe I'm actually saying this. Normally I would say play hold down to make sure your tank is more survivable and all that. Yeah, not for the Panzer 4H. If you play hold down, there are more antis to shoot this, which is your weaker part of your tank. So instead, my advice is just play like this, show your full front and everything. They see Panzer 4 and be like, oh, I can just shoot this, right? Yeah, no. Oh, and by the way, if you're thinking about angling your Panzer IV, I don't personally recommend it because your sights are not really looking too good. 30mm, like sure, you can actually angle it and make sure they hit it at a wide angle, but considering shells like the T-34, 76 EPH EBC, they can actually punch through ridiculous angles because, you know, Soviet. So how about the mobility on this thing? It's actually not too bad. 300 horsepower carrying 36 tons. You can definitely go up to 39 kilometers an hour. You're definitely not faster than most light tanks. And building up to speed is really not too bad. It's not too terrible and all that, but even so though, this is not something I would race a Sherman with. But the good news is that, hey, if you're going off-road, you do have the option of getting Oskatton, which will definitely help your off-road driving with a wider set of tracks. And then moving on the firepower of this thing, this is the 75mm KWK-40 L48 cannon. If I'm not mistaken, this is a Pack 40 that has been modified to fit into a Panzer IV turret. I might be wrong though, but anyway, as Panzer IV 75mm goes, this is the shell that we'll be firing. The armor-piercing cap ballistic cap shell that pans up to 145mm of armor with 17 grams of explosive mass. That's right, this is a very powerful gun, even at battle rating 3.7. Most things you come across don't exactly have that kind of armor, unless of course they are angled. Now you do have access to APCR. I say not really crucial to bring, especially if you know what you're doing with the stock shell, the APCBC shell. But just in case you come across something you think you cannot penetrate, like the Churchill Mark 7 or whatever, then yeah, maybe bring around 10 of these and that's about it. You'll most likely be using the APCBC shell anyway. Now the next thing that makes me appreciate this thing even more, you have two MG34s right here. So that means open top vehicles are definitely going to be shredded by this thing pretty easily. Just if one machine gun makes a difference. But just in case, you might want to bring a few high explosive in case you come across a tank that your machine gun cannot penetrate. And of course some smoke shells, I'll leave it to you as to how many you want to carry. For me personally, I just carry 5 of them. And then moving on, the other aspects of the gun, you can carry up to 87 rounds of ammunition, and as you can probably see in the X-ray view, you can probably guess what I'm going to say next. That's right, bring less. Reloading rate. The reload on this thing is actually about 7.6 seconds, which is not too bad, especially something this powerful. But again, I will say, if you have points in your crewman, put them in your tank loader and your tank commander and then expert crew them up. So that way you can actually drop your reload to as fast as 6.2 seconds. Yeah, which is very much on par with T-34s and Shermans and Cheffys. But what will make this thing even scarier is the fact that it's a much more powerful gun. But it considers negative tank gun depression, which is pretty much the same as every other tanks, so it's not too bad. And finally, no gun stabilizer, but the gun doesn't really bounce too much. And by bouncing too much, as in you're driving and then you stop your tank. So yeah, it's not really a big deal. And so there you have it. This is the Panzer IV-H, and how does this compare to the one in Heroes and Generals? It's kind of a left and right thing, unfortunately, but I kind of prefer the one in warthunder more. And a few reasons is that the additional armor and all that actually works. So it actually does feel a little bit more protective, as well as the firepower. It does actually feel like it's really more powerful than the one in Heroes and Generals. Especially since you're stuck with the stock shell and every other nation has the upgraded APH-EBC, which pretty much put them on level with the Panzer IV's stock shells, so yeah. But I guess the one in Heroes and Generals has their own form of survivability, you know, like playing hold on will actually help you survive a bit more. As well as these additional space armor on the sides here actually do work against infantry rocket or infantry projectile weapons and all that, despite the fact that they were meant to block anti-tank rifle rounds, so yeah. But anyway, that's all I gotta say about the Panzer IV. Now let's take this thing onto battle, and let's just bring this thing back up to 4.0, shall we? Knock it off. That is just disrespectful. Hey, buddy.
Our victory is near. Panzerkamphwagen. Panzerkamphwagen geladen.
Artillerieschlag auf Koordinaten.
There's a hue in the way I can see him. There is not somebody I want to see. The one time I didn't check my opposite side.
Just keep it up, and victory will be ours.
Wanna hide in a cheesy corner? Get the nail spawn out of here, buddy. Yo.
Most of the zones are under control.
Kraftfahrer. Marsch, Marsch.
Panzergranate geladen!
Ziel zerstört.
Allied forces have captured the zone.
Vorwärts. Verstanden.
Get that shit out of here, buddy. How did that pin? You know what? No. Stop questioning it.
Panzergranate geladen! Allied forces have captured a zone.
Artillerieschlag auf Koordinaten. Echo. 4. Niederhalten.
Echo! 4! Bestätige Koordinaten. Aufgepasst! Abgefeuert! Attention to the map!
Rückwärts.
Ah, shit on me nuts. Oh.
Ziel abgeschossen.
Panzergranate geladen!
Ziel getroffen. Ziel abgeschossen.
Panzergranate geladen!
Whatever. Yeah, I see you trying to hide there.
We've captured most of the strategic zones. We're ahead of the enemy.
Ziel abgeschossen.
Panzergranate geladen! Allied forces have captured a zone.
Ziel beschädigt.
Really, you're not carrying ammo. That's the first.
Panzergranate geladen!
Ziel beschädigt.
Come on, hurry up.
Feuer. Ziel zerstört. getroffen! Ziel zerstört!
They're in the trees, man. They're in the trees.
Panzergranate geladen! Panzergranate geladen!
Ziel zerstört!
Oh, Lord Almighty.
Captured post.
I don't like where I'm at right now.
Ziel getroffen! Ziel ausgeschaltet!
Panzergranate geladen!
Ziel zerstört!
Where's this guy?
Reingranate geladen!
Artillerieschuss auf Koordinaten. Bravo. 5. Stören.
Bravo! 5! Bestätigen Koordinaten! Ausgemacht! Abgefeuert!
Brenngranate laden.
Enemy forces have captured the zone.
There you are.
Ziel zerstört! Wir wurden getroffen!
I can't go to high velocity. Damn it.
Panzergranate geladen!
There we go.
Ziel zerstört!
Panzergranate geladen!
Really?
Panzergranate geladen!
Ziel ausgeschaltet!
Really? Should have waited, bro. I didn't even know you were there.
Keep it up, and victory will be ours. Allied forces have captured the zone.
Artillerieschlag auf Grund.
Ay, ay, ay. Please don't tell me it's gonna be like me going back and forth again. It is.
Attention to the map! Panzergranate geladen!
Ziel ausgeschaltet!
There's another one here.
Ziel getroffen!
Panzergranate geladen!
Ziel zerstört!
Maschinengewehr geladen!
I have no such weakness. I am a stone cold motherfucker.
The enemy's getting closer to victory. Attention to the map!
Done with them all.
Attention to the designated grid square. We have most of the zones.